Hello guys, and welcome to International Force Rape Timeline Hangout number 91, pre-recorded again. This one is called Unwise Sages. The reference is to several articles I found some time ago in Sage journals. Sage is a major publisher of academic journals. That doesn't mean there's any wisdom in them. Some of them are really the rubbish that's churned out by the sexual grievance industry and by gender studies and the like. It's just unbelievable. First though, I've got quite a few other things to go over. Articles I found recently, not necessarily recent. On July 9th, I joined a live stream, not about false allegations. I won't go into details, but it's quite entertaining. And two or three of the men present, or women as well, had been victims of false allegations, or said they were victims of false allegations. Not of rape, but more domestic stuff. And the issue of rape allegations came up, false rape allegations. And one said that the false accuser should get the same punishment as the rapist would get. This is something which men's rights activists often come out with. No. The reason that the punishment shouldn't be that severe is, well, the main reason in my humble opinion is because very often women recant. As I've said before, not all women are total cunts. Well, most women aren't, but the women who make false rape allegations are not all of them monsters. Even Emma-Jayne, this wasn't a false rape case. This was a woman who stabbed her lover through the heart and then sat and watched him die while talking to the emergency services, feeding him a cock-a-ball story about him collapsing drunk or something. She's currently serving a life sentence with 17 years. I think it's 17-year tariff. I've written about it anyway. But she was brought to book by she confessed to I think it was her stepfather, and he took her along to the police. So, you know, even a cold-hearted bitch like that isn't totally beyond redemption, although the mother of his victim will probably disagree, because she's since lost another son, this time to suicide, who she said told me probably committed suicide on account of his brother's death. But Catherine Crowell, for example, well, this is the classic recantation. Bianca Pagaro is another one. These were women who recanted after their marks had spent several years behind bars. Gary Dotson spent 6 years behind bars, and Bianca Pagaro's victim, William McCaffrey, he was behind bars for 4 years. Both those women got religion. Crowell married a bloke called David Webb. David Webb, I run a website called the David Webb Virtual Archive website. David Webb was an actor who died in 2012. Crowell married a bloke named David Webb and converted to Catholicism, and Bianca Pagaro did the same thing. And sometimes women do confess to making up allegations. This is less a purely female thing. People do have twinges of conscience over various things, great and small. So that is the reason why, in my humble opinion, the sentence shouldn't be that heavy. On the other side, there are those who say rape should be capital, as indeed it was at one time. Well, The problem with that, not only is the definition of rape so very elastic, especially on campus, but if it were capital, then a man who's committed a rape, a stranger rape, what is he to lose by murdering the victim? Rape is still capital in some countries. There was the absolutely notorious and horrific case of India's daughter, which these it's on the timeline, in which this woman was literally raped to death. There were 5 participants. There was a juvenile who was sentenced to a maximum of 3 years. 3 years. And 4 of the other 4 were executed. It took about 8 years, something like that. I think it was 2020 they were executed. I wrote an article about it. But so that was actually a murder, absolutely horrific case. But Iran has just executed 3 men for rape. This is from the website Iran Human Rights. 3 unnamed men executed for rape in Bandar Abbas. July 4th, 2023. State media have reported the execution of 3 unnamed men for rape charges in Bandar Abbas Central Prison. According to the judiciary's Mizian news agency, 3 men were executed. Now, here's the punchline. The 3 men all worked for a beauty business, are alleged to have committed the rapes. It says the rape, but the rapes. It says the rape, but plural. When the clients were under anaesthesia, one is reported to have been a technician and doctor's assistant, and the other 2 nurses. In cases of rape, there was a huge chance of defendants being tortured to make false confessions. This isn't a particularly good report, but apparently they raped several women, aggravated rape. What's the mitigation for that? You know, what's the mitigation for it? There's a case here, another actual rape. This was from 2014, and I found this one astounding. I'm surprised I hadn't seen it before. A 12-year-old boy who raped his 7-year-old sister after watching porn online has walked free after a judge ruled he's not a danger to society. It's a good thing he didn't try John Venables and Robert Thompson. I mean, the boy pleaded guilty to rape, 2 counts of indecent assault, and inciting a child to engage in sexual intercourse. Blackburn Youth Court, he should have been tried as an adult, I don't care, 12 years old or what. Blackburn Youth Court heard he had viewed hardcore porn films with his friends, leading to a desire to try it out. Oh, it's porn, did it? That's what Ted Bundy said. Yeah? I'm not saying that I blame it on the porn, but all these men on death row have been engaged in heavy pornography. There's actually a video of him. I won't include it here, but there's video of Bundy's last interview with some idiot who was taken in by him. This is just unbelievable. The judge keeping him in custody would tear the family apart, expose him to hardened and sophisticated young youth criminals. In a statement, the boy said he was disgusted with his crimes and promised not to do it again. His sister says she missed him and wants to do it now. The boy was placed on a sex offenders register for 2.5 years. What? No, I'm sorry. I was watching an interview with some idiot the other day who was actually arguing about John Venables that they're trying to get released. If you're not familiar with John Venables, in 1993 he and Robert Thompson were 10 years old when they committed an absolutely horrific murder, kidnapped and murdered a 2-year-old boy named James Bulger. Absolutely horrific. And he's back in prison again for breaching his parole. And this idiot was arguing that he raised Dolly and Capax, which, no, I'm sorry, Dolly and Capax indeed. A 10-year-old who may not understand like why bribery is wrong, or blackmail, or sophisticated crimes like money laundering, or all sorts of crimes that people commit, which you can be forgiven for not realising their crimes. In Britain, for example, you can't carry a sharp object on you in public because it's an offensive weapon, or it's just ludicrous. But surely every 10-year-old realises murder is wrong, and a 12-year-old who rapes his sister, so horrible. And his parents want him back. I mean, seriously? Little monster. I've removed a case from the timeline, a case from 1897. There was no associated image with it. It was a young German girl called Margaret Wirth, W-I-R-T-H, who was working in Britain. She accused her master, I suppose you call him, her employer, of rape. He was acquitted, then she was charged with perjury. I've done a bit more research on the case, didn't find a lot in it, but the perjury charge was thrown out by the grand jury. We used to have grand juries in this country. They did away with them in about 1932, and then there was not pleasing directions, old style committal. They did away with old style committals as well to ostensibly save costs. But the grand jury threw out the case again. So I didn't know that much about the case, but I've taken it off the timeline anyway. There weren't that many cases of forced rape in at that time. A lot fewer than today, because, well, I say rape was capital, and I really don't think women were so brainwashed or so venal as many are today. Feminism, especially second and now third wave feminism, has done a lot to corrupt women, you know, just brainwash them. I've got a case here. This isn't rape, but this is PC Formby, not George. PC James Formby. I've got 3 articles here. Got these from Newsbank, but there's one's in the Times, one's in my local paper, the News Shopper, and the other is that's Seven Oaks Chronicle, 3 different publications. So it's March the 18th, 2010. March 28th, 2014, and March the 24th, 2014. Or the same bloke. Obviously took a while to work his way through the system. This, as I said, these blokes, they throw away their careers. I've lost count the number of police officers who have thrown away their careers for the promise of a leg over. Literally. And this bloke Formby, let's look at this. This is this is March 24th. A vulnerable woman who had a sexual encounter with a Bromley police officer after being beaten up by a boyfriend is soon up to Bromley police. Oh, that's why they delay. The domestic violence victim romped with PC James Formby of Maidstone after he and another officer responded to a 999 call in September 2009. She'd been clubbing in Bromley when her boyfriend, a male stripper, oh God, is alleged to have beaten her up on the street. Formby stayed behind to get a statement after the man was arrested. They said to have later followed the woman into her toilet. Oh my God. She then performed a sex act on him after she allegedly asked Formby to kiss her. This is even white knighting. And she sued him the Metropolitan Police. The court was told the claimant was intoxicated at the time. After sobering up, reflecting on what happened, became increasingly concerned and distressed. I bet you did. You're so drunk she didn't really. Oh, saw the other one, it's got bells on it. It's pathetic women. But, you know, police officers, as I've said before, and anybody who knows will tell you, I'm no great fan of police officers, but stay away from these women. They are toxic, absolutely toxic. And here is an absolutely disgusting story. If you're as ancient as me, you may remember a bloke named Arthur Mullard, who was an actor, character actor, and comedian. He looked like a boxer or a nightclub bouncer. He played that part, you know, but he was also a good comedy actor. And I've got here, he died in 1995. There's an article here from the Sunday Mirror, May 12, 1996. Arthur Mullard was a cockney millions loved and a monster. At 13, he raped his daughter. This is his daughter's, an article where his daughter. Yet behind that lovable screen smile lurked a sickening sadist who sexually abused his only daughter from the age of 13 and drove his desperate wife to kill herself after a lifetime of physical and mental cruelty. Yeah. I mean, it makes me boil inside with rage when people talk fondly about lovable Arthur Mullard. What a marvellous man he was, and I should put up a statue to him, says twice married Barbara, 56. I mean, there's lots of stuff here, but this. I mean, her mother died, and he said to have, how do you credit this? I think I found the reason for it though. In March 1996, this is from Daily Record, Glasgow, but it's in other papers as well. Cockney comic Arthur Mullard, who died last December, aged 85, left more than £240,000 for children's charity, it was revealed last night. But only £5,000 each to his son and daughter. He had two sons, one predeceased him. The rest of his estate goes to the National Children's Home Action for Children charity. That's the wording of it anyway. Yeah, there was a woman who claimed to have been raped by Clement Freud. She was his adoptive daughter or something. She and another woman claimed to have been raped by him. But whenever, yeah. I just don't credit these women. They're just totally pathetic. They don't say anything at the time because it didn't happen at the time. On May the 22nd, I wrote to two police forces, South Wales and Devon and South Wales and Devon and Cornwall. South Wales was about a rape, false rape allegation, which appeared in South Wales Echo, August 11th, 1999. I asked politely if I could be given the date of the false allegation. Didn't need the name of the accuser. I've got the name of the accuser, yeah. I didn't need the name of the man she accused. I just wanted the date it was actually made, and I got a phone call from a woman who I believe she's a press officer or something. I don't think she's a police officer, information officer or whatever. I've seen a photograph of her at Scotland Yard, outside Scotland Yard, and she said it would take a while, and very polite, and eventually I got an email from her. Well, to cut a long story short, no, you can't have it. But it was the usual freedom of information stuff. On May the 22nd, I wrote to the Chief Constable of Devon and Cornwall, or Chief Cunt, that should be, I suppose. Last week I contacted your press office regarding an allegation of rape on the beach at Newquay on March the 12th. A man named Gennady Babiai was arrested in connection with this allegation and appeared in court, but is reported to have been released without charge. The allegation appears to have led to a certain amount of concern among the locals. Your press officer was uncooperative and refused to give me the information I requested, which is as follows. Was the woman concerned actually raped, and if so, are the police looking for anyone else in connection with this? Did she have consensual sex with Mr. Babi or someone else then report she'd been raped? Was there no rape and no sex? If so, has or will this complainant face some sort of legal action? In the 2009 case of Jennifer Day, the Court of Appeal ruled that a prison sentence was inevitable for a woman who falsely accused a named individual of rape when that false allegation led to his arrest. In 1987, teenager Alison Morecambe was given a 90-day youth custody sentence for falsely accusing another teen of rape after having consensual sex with him on Newquay Beach. I realise the British police release far less information than the American police. By and large, I would agree with this. But I'm not asking this woman to be named, only that the record be set straight for the public. I'll be happy to publish your full response on the full timeline when eventually I add this case to it. Yours faithfully, A. Baron. Totally ignored. Cunt. So I may take that with a certain MP. I might publish that letter on the Internet Archive. Yeah, I mean, they're so arrogant, the British police. Not as if they've got a lot to be arrogant about. I mean, the American police release tranche after tranche after tranche, reams of material, which I don't always agree with, because sometimes you'll find like autopsy photos of one in particular, Travis Alexander, who was murdered by his freakish psychopath girlfriend, Jodie Arias. There are autopsy, there's a photograph of his head. I mean, his body wasn't found for about 3 days, and it's horrible. And there's like autopsy photographs of Michael Jackson. Certainly other autopsy photographs of death, crime scene photographs, just horrible. And generally speaking, it shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I've uploaded a file of crime scene photographs of Stacey Stites to the Internet Archive. She was murdered by serial rapist Rodney Reed. But I did that for purpose, and this scum is still hasn't been executed. But you know, the British police, they're so arrogant. The arrogance is, you know, you've got no time for you little people. Go away, or you'll be arrested. And I've had that as well. You know, they're fucking thugs. No time for them at all. The fighter, mixed martial arts fighter, Conor McGregor, was accused of rape. It appears it's going to peter out. It doesn't even been a fight, and he led this woman into the toilet and they had sex, and then she cried rape. Sex in the toilet, it really does get me, sex in the toilet. But these blokes should know better by now. I won't be adding this to full fact timeline, because by now they should know, even though the odious Amber Heard killed the Me Too movement, they should know by now it's dangerous for a man to, whether it's a drunken slut or just a slut, for these alpha males and these high profile celebrities and politicians, they should know how dangerous it is to just, anyway, I definitely will not be adding that to the timeline. They bring it on themselves. Right, now let's get on to the first of the Sage articles. This is called Self-Affirmation and False Allegations, the effects on responses to disclosures of sexual victimisation. Disclosures. By Melissa S. DeRuse and Daniel N. Jones. So we've got a mangina, or male feminist here. This is from 2020, Journal of Interpersonal Violence. The rise of the hashtag MeToo movement highlights the prevalence of sexual victimisation and gives a voice to victims who may have been silent before. No, don't do any such thing. Don't do any such thing. enables false accusers. Through an online survey on Amazon's Mechanical Turk, we assess participants' exposure to and perceptions of the hashtag #MeToo movement. Furthermore, we ask them about their proximity to sexual violence, victimisation or perpetration, and to false allegations. Perpetration. Have you raped anyone lately? The phrase sexual violence is that's a red flag. It's a big red flag. Sexual assault is acceptable. There's sexual assault in Canada, but rape is the word. They were Roehampton University and University of Nevada, Reno. Further, we found that self-affirmation was linked with more supportive responses to a disclosure, and all this stuff about it's 24 pages it runs to. The usual citations, which are vacuous. You know, somebody said something, somebody wrote something, so put it in brackets, put it in a text. More broadly, gender differences in response to sexual violence and to victims of sexual violence can be explained through social identity theory. According to social identity theory, when social categories such as age, gender, or ethnicity are threatened, for example, are being confronted with negative evaluation, members feel stronger ties to that category. This is particularly the case if that category is considered a minority group, such as women. 51% of the population are a minority. Older people or people of colour, the people of colour. Of course, people of colour will be a minority in Nigeria, wouldn't they? Just garbage to come out with. False allegations. The perceived prevalence of false allegations of sexual violence may be particularly threatening to men. A commonly held view is that women and children lie about experiences of sexual victimisation. Really? And they give citations for this. This perceived prevalence is not limited to the general population. Yeah. Frontline law enforcement professionals, for example, said to claim that false allegations are common. I wonder why that is. Perhaps they know something you don't. Finally, when considering false allegations of threat, it's important to point out that most cases of false allegations involve an allegation of stranger rape, presumably because such cases are consistent with people's stereotypical expectations of sexual violence, and thus may be perceived as more credible, not necessarily. O'Neill et al. 2014 found that a perpetrator was named by a victim in about 18% of false allegations, and the rest of these cases represented about 2.8%, with 0.9% leading to a conviction. False allegations do occur, but nevertheless biases such as the availability heuristic may lead to, that's bad grammar, may lead to the perception that they are more widespread than is warranted. Regardless of any factual basis, the perceived prevalence of false allegations is likely to play a role in an individual's response to a disclosure, and men in particular may be more sensitive to the issue as it could be perceived as a threat. Oh, this garbage. Self-affirmation. What's that even mean, self-affirmation? Child sexual abuse disclosures. People of colour, non-heterosexual people. What does that mean, non-heterosexual people? I mean, just absolutely ludicrous these. But I say it is total garbage. I won't be adding that to the full soap timeline. Trying to move the elephant in the living room, responding to the challenge of false rape reports by Kimberly A. Lonsway. This is from 2010. Abstract. The issue of false reports can be characterised as the elephant in the middle of the living room for the field of sexual violence. That's sexual violence again. The author begins by discussing the 2% statistic, which is drawn from the FBI's Uniform Crime Report. Although it's been used in training presentations for more than 2 decades, it's time to stop. She then describes some alternative strategies for responding to this challenge, drawing from perpetrated narratives, serial cases, and common sense. Common sense. Families with common sense. This is a Sage Journal. This is Violence Against Women, and this runs to 16 pages. She cites here LISAC. Fortunately, there is now a more recent body of empirical research on the topic as reviewed by Dr. Lissack. His excellent article, ironically, the work suggests that the 2% statistic was the appropriate range. Lisak is a mangina. He's on the top. I'll put a link below to his entry on the timeline. Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. The 2% statistic, FBI uniform crime reports. I have dealt with hundreds and hundreds of rapes in the past few years, and I can honestly probably count on both hands the ones that I believe are truly genuine. Officer interviewed and study by Kelly Lovett and Regan, 2005. I wonder why. When I began this work in the 1980s, many of us in the rape crisis movement responded to this challenge by citing evidence that only 2% of rape reports were deemed to be false by the FBI. This is absolute garbage. It's on the timeline. Brown Miller gives. I've actually identified the probable origin of it, but it's far more than 2%. Cases which are reported promptly are more likely to be true. This doesn't mean that women don't lie. I mean, a woman won't have sex with a man and then claim to have been raped, consensual sex, or she won't make it up, or inflict injuries herself. There's lots of cases on the timeline of women who've done insane things, like say inflicted injuries on themselves. But the longer the time between the alleged rape and the reporting of it, the more likely it is to be false, because you've got rape leaves physical evidence, and as I said many times before, I'll keep saying, rape with any historicity, it doesn't require evidence. It requires a story and maybe a few tears. And a rape allegation which is sufficiently backdated is almost impossible to. Well, I say almost. It's very difficult to disprove. Put it that way. For a bloke like me who's 65 with a computer all day, I'm fairly safe, I think, for false allegations. But for a bloke who's going out there working, clubbing, maybe driving places, and if he's accused of raping a woman like 6 months ago, how does he refute it? Not only are the likely more false allegations, like maliciously false in that time period, but you have all sorts of things. You have women who are not right in the head. They confabulate, they take drugs, and you have false memories, all sorts of things. So, and there's no reason to, for a reasonably intelligent, educated woman who claims to have been raped by a man over whom has no power over her, there is no real excuse for her not reporting the rape promptly. And again, real victims have bruises, not credibility issues, and often real perpetrators have bruises as well, or scratches or cuts or whatever. And this goes on, quoting Lisak again. Many educators used a frank transcript and video reenactment, which were developed based on Dr. Lisak's previous research with undetected sex offenders. I mean, Frank is a law student describing a sexual assault he committed at a fraternity party. Yeah, but does he exist? Is he serious? These materials come from Lisak and Miller's study, in which a large sample of 1,882 men were screened to identify the 120 who perpetrated at least one sexual assault. Second, they teach us that the vast majority of sexual assaults are in fact serial rapes. Of the 120 rapists, just more than 1/3 committed a single act of rape. Serial rapists are a problem. They tend to get caught. In fact, these 76 rapists actually committed a total of 439 rapes, an average of 5.8 each. In our culture, they face serial rape tends to be used only to describe serial stranger rapes. Here we go. I mean, this is alcohol again. Miscommunications, grey areas, or regretted sex. Yeah, definitely. In the incident is described for the interview, Frank reportedly took a young woman to a designated room and began kissing and fondling her. When he tried to take off her clothes, she resisted. Why was he wearing her clothes in the first place? You might ask. Common sense. What kind of false report would you file? It's just. In New Zealand, the authors found that reports classified as false were most likely to include only a classic rape. Well, at this time, in New Zealand, there was a very generous compensation scheme for accident and criminal. I think it was the ACC or something. Actually, cites costs here from 1993. Mary Costs produced the scope of rape. I'll put a link to it. It's on the timeline. I'll put a link to it. Lisek again. Yeah, I mean, just addressing problems with victim statements. In theory, I would say that somebody who's been raped is going to stick quite rigidly to the account that they give. It might be an account they give to a uniformed police officer. A uniformed police officer, not uniformed, uniform. And then to us, and then perhaps a doctor as well. Whereas sometimes those that have made a false allegation, the story may well change. And sometimes they might come out and say things that you know couldn't be possible, or evidence might disprove it. Yeah, people's stories do change. It doesn't necessarily mean they're lying. I'd like to know how many of these involved alcohol. Probably, I would say probably the vast majority. It's cost here again. I mean, anyone who cites Lisek, and certainly cites him more than once, there's got to be, well, not right in the way of credibility, put it that way. This one is called Regretting It After? ? Focus group perspective on alcohol consumption, non-consensual sex and false allegations of rape. This is from Social and Legal Studies, another Sage journal. Claire Gunby, Anna Carline and Carlin Bain, Liverpool John Moores University, UK. Abstract. Research indicates that individuals often endorse beliefs that false allegations of rape cases are commonplace, really, and are also reluctant to believe a woman who states she was raped whilst drinking alcohol. On this basis, it can be hypothesised that people are increasingly likely to believe that false allegations occur more often when the complainant has been drinking. How strange that! Absolutely strange. I could do no better here than refer you to. I'll put a link to it. The alcohol page. I'll put a link to the Rodney Anderson page and follow the links from there. It is well documented that young people, including students, are consumers of alcohol. Yeah, like your local mosque, you know, they drink a lot of alcohol, don't they? This one's to 20 pages. Research also indicates the association between alcohol and sexual outcomes serves to influence judgments around the consensual nature of alcohol-involved intercourse. And they give a citation for it, so you need a citation. In England and Wales, rape law was reformed in 2003 amongst concerns regarding the low reporting and conviction rate for the offence. So here we go. How do we know it's a low reporting? How do we know that? It gives a definition of rape, and for the first time, the 2003 Act implemented a statutory definition of consent. A person consents if he agrees by choice and has the freedom and capacity to make that choice. Well, as I've said before, this definition is, there's consent and there's consent, you know. If you're pulled up late at night by a police officer, and he says, "Bring it to this bag, sir. Bring it to this bag, madam," and you don't, well, you can bleed by consent. But if you don't consent, what happens? You get arrested. You commit an offence for the offence of failing to provide a sample. So this is complete nonsense. There's bits about government consultation. Voluntary intoxication short of the point of unconsciousness therefore falls under the general section 74 definition of consent. Yeah, the site's Bree. I'm not sure I've got that on the timeline. I think it was a successful appeal when drunken consent is still consent. London-based Opinion Matters survey identified 1 in 5 participants aged 18 to 50 who agree that most claims of rape are probably not true. with men being more likely to endorse this perspective. Ideas around the elevated nature of force rape allegations remain, despite evidence that levels of force rape are no different to or permanently lower than the levels of false complaints found across other crimes. That is complete rubbish. Absolute rubbish. You know, there are far more motives for making false allegations of rape than other crimes. I mean, false allegations of theft, for example. What reasons are there? Insurance claim, you know, fraud, malice, caprice, and false allegations of rape. All manner of reasons. I've got a page, and again I'll put a link to the page of the types of false rape allegation. It's possible to hypothesise that hesitancy around believing an intoxicated female's account of rape relates to assumptions around the accusation being false and the consequence of a sober retraction of consent. Well, yeah, this is, I mean, it's women and men get tanked up and they cough off with people they wouldn't normally touch with a barge pole. They think, oh my god, what have I done? Now, if a dude beds a land well, and what can he do afterwards, you know? Hide his head in shame. But a woman can claim to have been raped or convince herself she was raped. And there's all sorts of stuff here. Not quite rape. Participants were reluctant to label the vignette sex as rape and the sub-themes that were developed to come. I mean, no. Several participants focused on this lack of physical evidence and argued that had severe bruising, cuts or broken bones been present, this would be indicative of rape and convince them of such. Well, yeah. The law does not require evidence of injury in order for consent to be deemed absent. Obviously, as R.V. Heard, presumably not Amber, 2007, and R.V. Olugboja, 1981. Stereotype of rapists and rape. Participants emphasise that a defendant offered to spend the night in her bed. So obviously he does not mean it because I mean, seriously. So it's the possibility of rape allegation being the consequence of events being altered to fit with a rape experience is an issue individuals are entitled to consider when assessing the legitimacy of a case. Yeah. Conclusion. A key aim of the research project was to investigate how perspectives towards false allegations and alcohol intoxication intertwine. Don't get drunk and cop off with men you don't know or hardly know. You know, that's the best way to, that's the best advice anyone could give a woman regarding this, but of course it's victim blaming. Yeah? Doctors, other medical professionals, police officers say this time and time again, and they're accused of victim blaming. But if you take the advice, you won't be a victim. Probably not anyway. This is another one from 2010. Stop blaming the victim, : I love the colon. It's my favourite punctuation mark. Stop blaming the victim, : a meta-analysis on rape myths by Eliana Soros and Tahani M. Ghazala. Although male rape is being reported more often than before, the majority of rape victims continue to be women. Rape myths, false beliefs, false beliefs used mainly to shift the blame of rape from perpetrators to victims, are also prevalent in today's society and in many ways contribute towards the pervasiveness of rape. Whenever you hear the phrase rape myths, what that means is believe women. Believe women. This is, you can tell the rubbish is coming here. Overall, the findings indicated that men displayed a significantly higher endorsement of rape myth RMA, rape myth acceptance. Rape myth acceptance was also found to be correlated with other isms such as racism, heterosexism, classism and ageism. Seriously, you have to take it seriously. I mean, no. According to the 1996 National Violence Against Women survey in the United States, 1 in 6 women has been a victim of sexual assault or rape, compared to 1 in 33 men. That depends how you define sexual assault or rape. When I was 18 or 19, I went to the cinema twice in quick succession. I've written about this. I went to see Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia at a cinema in Victoria, and a creep sat down next to me and put his hand on my leg, and I went the following morning, in small hours the following morning. Well, I think it was about 11 o'clock at night, so it was an all-night show. There were 5 films anyway. It was a cinema, a very small cinema off Leicester Square. It showed 5 sex films or 5 horror films. I think it was horror films I was watching. And a bloke was drunk. You used to make your own coffee there and that. He was getting very talkative. He put his hand on my leg, and so I was sexually. You could say I was sexually assaulted twice in the space of 24 hours, but or indecently assaulted. But I mean, is that does it happen to women? Of course, it happens to women. It happens to women a lot more often than men, I should imagine. But what they do is they'll take something like that, and they'll classify that as they'll fudge the difference between sexual assault and rape. So a guy touching a woman's leg or a breast or even her arm will be classified as a sexual assault rather than decent assault. They do this all the time, and they get sillier. Like they classify violence, online violence, economic violence. What I mean, this is how silly these things are. You wouldn't credit that from some of the rubbish that they write here. Rape myths, the false cultural beliefs that mainly serve the purpose of shifting. Yeah, we've been there, haven't we? What are rape myths? Well, rape myths. There's got a rape myth, the Illinois rape myth acceptance scale all the time. They're going off a link to it. Oh, it's here. It's referenced here. This is 26 pages. This is on page 4. It's complete nonsense. Rape myths are, I say, believe women. So, if a woman claims to have been raped 6 months ago, believe her. Why wouldn't you delay? If she claims to have been raped 3 months ago by the bloke she was dating last week, believe her. Why wouldn't she date a rapist? If a woman who is an athlete claims to have been raped by a cystic fibrosis sufferer who she outweighs by 5 stone, believe her. Why wouldn't you just freeze? That's another one. I just froze. I made a video about that, and again I'll put a link to it. Rape Crisis Scotland's video. Rape Crisis Scotland. I just froze. I thought I'd fight rape, I just froze. These are what rape myths really are. As with rape trauma syndrome, which does not exist, a way of affirming any allegation of rape. This meta-analysis, I mean, just Data analysis. The studies reported their results in the form of correlation coefficients or means and standard deviations. Wow. We use mathematics. There's a table here. Another table. The analysis includes 37 studies, 34 from the United States and 3 from Canada. Measures of rate misacceptance. And got here another table. I won't be adding this to the timeline. Gender and sexuality and attitudes. When they say gender, they mean sex. Yeah. And you've got here ageism, classism, combined racism, religious intolerance, standards of it. I mean, where do you get this from? I really don't know. Attitude towards gender, sexuality, attitude towards women, hostility towards women, homophobia, therapist acceptance of rape victims, victim blame attitudes, violent attitudes, combined sexism, sexual conservatism. That's just absolute silly. Sexual aggression, sexual coercion, number of sexual thoughts, frequency of sex, playboy, pornography viewer, prostitution user. What are we to deduce from all this? Well, we're supposed to affirm any woman who cries rape. Implications for rape education programs. Read brainwashing. The effectiveness of most rape prevention programs has been criticised because follow-up studies found only a short-term impact for most programs. North American society has been called a rape culture, and they actually put a citation in brackets. Lonsway and Fitzgerald, 1995. However, the anthropologist Peggy Sanday made clear that rape-free and rape-prone societies are achievable, and they can even coexist within a large societal context. Funding. The authors disclosed receipt of the following financial support for research and the authorship of this article. It's got Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, a doctoral fellowship. So it's Brown Miller in the index, in the citation, in the references at the end. Yeah, Brown Miller indeed. Men cannot be raped, in quotation marks, correlates a male rape myth acceptance by Scott M. Warfield. This is from 2021, the Journal of Interpersonal Violence. Despite the increased attention surrounding rape and sexual assault, research on male victims remains limited, particularly concerning adherence to rape myths. Yeah, male rape does happen, which is extremely rare. There have been 2 horrible cases in Britain in recent years. There was Stephen Port, who murdered 4 young homosexuals in East London, and there was that creature, an Indonesian mature student who lived near Manchester's gay village and raped. Well, he had 4 separate trials anyway. By and large, male rape doesn't happen. It doesn't happen much. It happens in prisons, but very rare. It's, it's greatly exaggerated. So it's 27 pages. Results from the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey indicate approximately a quarter of males experience some form of sexual violence over the course of their lifetime. Again, 2 creeps touching my legs. Is that the same leg actually? Does that count as sexual violence? The vast majority of victims do not report incidents to the police, with studies indicating not only underreporting to be more likely among males than females, but males also taking significantly longer to disclose or seek medical attention and or mental health services. No. Jaden and Sonner's reported of all male victims who were raped since their 18th birthday, only 1 in 8 had their victimisation reported to law enforcement. Just rape myth adherents, yes. But in 1980s defined rape myths as prejudicial, stereotyped or false beliefs about rape victims and rapists, which result in a rape supportive climate hostile to victims. This rape supportive. Is there any, apart from rapists, is there anyone who does support rape? Seriously? Victims may not report an incident because it does not fit their a priori definition of rape. Yeah, like being paid for it. Oh, seriously. Male rape myths. The scant attention given to males is apparent in an early article on attribution of victim blaming. No. Men cannot be raped. Real men can defend themselves against rape. Only gay men are victims and or perpetrators of rape. Well, I would have thought if a man who rapes another man is homosexual by definition, or at worst bisexual. Men are not affected by rape as much as women. A woman cannot sexually assault a man. They throw in this bit. A lot of this is, there's an ulterior motive for this. It's to garner male support for the attack on due process. That's what this is all about. You know, that's what it's all about. Don't believe a word of it. There's questionnaire here. Results, demographics and rape items are presented in table 1. Of the 1220 participants, a slight majority were male. And so the women who rape men are sexually frustrated individuals. No. Women who rape men are a bit like winged horses or unicorns. They're very rare if they exist at all. I mean, I would have a hard time believing a man who told me that he was raped by a woman. You know, it does happen sometimes. A bloke is drunk and a woman will. It's just silly. It's a terrible experience for a man to be raped by a woman. This is a questionnaire. Most men who are raped by a woman are somewhat to blame for not being more careful. This is just, it's silly. There's a novel I read many years ago called Man Rape. It's about a woman in Sweden who's picked up by some dude, takes her somewhere, rapes her, and then she decides to exact revenge on him. She finds him and he doesn't recognise her, and she I think she drugs him or something, ties him to the bed, and the police come and they dismiss it as kinky sex. But no, this is silly. This sort of thing is insulting. They could be doing real. If they want to reduce rape, there's all sorts of things that can be done. So the first is for women, to encourage women not to drink alcohol to excess. There's all sorts of things like nowadays. I mean, I think most of us are wary of state surveillance, of cameras everywhere, but you know, CCTV and other technology can detect false rape allegations, can bring perpetrators to book, not just rapists but murderers and all sorts of ne'er-do-wells. And we can use technology to reduce risk. Yeah, that's what they should be concentrating on, not rubbish like this. It's really, it's too silly for words, really. This is a paper from 2019 by Una Brooks-Hay. Doing the right thing? ? Understanding why rape victims - survivors report to the police. Well, what's to understand? This article explores why rape victims - survivors engage with the police by drawing upon the accounts of 24 women who reported rape or sexual assault in Scotland. Findings defy public narratives around rape reporting, indicating that victims - survivors may exercise limited agency in reporting. Moreover, a problematic aspiration-reality gap exists due to stark differences between the aspirations attached to reports and the reality of the ensuing criminal justice response. This runs to 22 pages. Despite sustained calls from feminist scholars and activists for victims-survivors to be heard within the criminal justice process, and growing recognition that listening to their voices is essential to meet their needs, their narratives are conspicuous by their absence when it comes to understanding why rape was reported to the police. What on earth does that mean? Feminist scholars, yeah, feminist glaciology, yeah. Their voices to be heard within the criminal justice process. Well, listening to their voices, well, this is what police do. They take statements. They listen to a woman who claims to have been raped. If they make an arrest, they listen to the bloke who the woman claims raped her. Yeah, what's so bad about that? Not to mention the successful prosecutions of rape cases as a crime that is not usually witnessed by anyone other than the victim and the accused is critically dependent on victim-survivor participation in the criminal justice process. Well, yes. In a murder case, the victim doesn't participate, although just saying dead men tell tales. I think it was a book by that title about forensic science. But this article seeks to enhance understanding of victim-survivors' experiences and contribute to improving the responses made to them by exploring the reasons why women report rape and sexual assault to the police. Well, who are they supposed to report it to? Local greengrocer? Seriously? The article that follows comprises 4 main parts. The background to this issue is discussed in terms of public narratives. What's narratives got to do with it? And again, citation after citation after citation. Reasons reporting to the police. Existing research. Well, you know, if you're raped or seriously assaulted, or I mean, if you're the victim of a serious crime, you should report it. That's what's to elucidate the decision-making process of individual victims. The logic of reporting within the logic of reporting within a socio-ecological model, whereby it is assumed that if the expected benefits of reporting outweigh the expected costs, then individuals are likely to report a crime. Well, yes. About 40 odd years ago, or more than that now, a workmate of mine had somebody broke into his car and stole his coat. I think I may have mentioned this before. Now, what would be the point of reporting it? You're not going to make an insurance claim because he's going to lose his no claims bonus. Unless it's a very, 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 very expensive coat. But then they'll probably question why you live in the car. Now, you know, nowadays a lot of shoplifting doesn't get reported. What's happening in America is just beyond belief. But if a shopkeeper catches a kid stealing a chocolate bar or something, is it worth his while reporting it, or just banning him from the shop? A lot of shops have notice no more than 2 school children at a time. You know, if somebody scratches your car, if it's a very faint scratch, you might not do anything about it. But a rape is always a serious crime, and unless a woman has a very good reason for not reporting it, she should. I can't imagine what that reason might be. A valuable body of researchers explore why domestic abuse is reported to the police. Domestic abuse can be complicated. Herman's 2005 study of 22 victims-survivors of domestic and sexual offences, of whom had filed a criminal complaint in particular, is particularly insightful. It concluded that participants primarily sought incapacitation and exposure to the offender as opposed to other conventional aims of criminal justice, deterrence, retribution or rehabilitation. God. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff here. I conducted semi-structured interviews with 24 female victims it's always victims hyphen survivors across Scotland who reported rape or sexual assault to the police and used an advocacy support service, a rape crisis in other words. An organisation that should be shut down worldwide. Again, lots and lots of citations. Women in policing and the response to rape, representative bureaucracy and organisational change. Feminist criminology. Feminist criminology. You can imagine what that's about, can't you? Male perpetrators and female victims. Child abuse and neglect. This is a journal called Child Abuse and Neglect. This isn't a Sage journal, this is Pergamon. This is from 2006. Dynamics of forensic interviews with suspected abuse victims who do not disclose abuse. This runs to 17 pages. Received February 17, 2005. Objective. The present study was designed to explore structural differences between forensic interviews in which children made allegations and those in which children did not make allegations. Right. Finding. Forensic interviews which yielded allegations of child abuse were characterised by quite different dynamics than interviews with children who did not make allegations. When interviewing non-disclosures, interviewers made less frequent use of free recall prompts and offered fewer supportive comments than when interviewing children who made allegations of abuse. Children who did not disclose abuse were somewhat uncooperative, offered fewer details and gave more informative responses, even at the very beginning of the interview, before the interviewers focused on substantive issues and before the interviewers themselves began to behave differently. Which sounds a bit like coaching to me. 17 pages if I didn't say it before. Yeah, there are problems with children, of course. A lot of this is just sexual touching, which, you know, is undesirable. But let's not consider. A bloke who touches a child's stomach or whatever isn't. It just doesn't cause great psychological damage. And some of the stuff I've seen as a publication on the timeline which suggested that mothers interfere with their kids, they touch them because they're just sick, but I mean, invitations prompted free recall responses from the child. Such prompts provided a general invitation to report what happened without limiting the child's focus, except in a general way. Tell me everything that happened. When did it happen? Suggestive prompts. I mean, this is very dangerous. This is very dangerous. You can take virtually any kid and, well, they've done this. I've seen it on film of encouraging kids to make allegations. Very often they don't know what they're. It's very dangerous. On the timeline you'll find CC, he's very good, and there's Demosthenes Lorandos and one or two others, very good about false allegations and also truthful allegations of child sexual abuse. Right, one more. This is most false reports involve teens. Offensive attitudes toward teenage sexual assault complainants, a qualitative analysis by Erin Nicole O'Neill and Brittany E. Hayes, published 2020. This is now a Sage journal, 22 pages. Scholars advocated victims have repeatedly criticised the police treatment of sexual assault complainants. Apathetic attitudes and hostile behaviour on the part of the police have likely resulted from socialisation to a culture that condones the use of force and violence and blame sexual assault victims for the victimisation. Where do they get this rubbish from? Where do they get it from? The suspicious attitudes of law enforcement officers towards sexual assault victims may result from a combination of job role, the hyper-masculine environment of police organisations, and societal beliefs about rape. Or they may just... I mean, police officers are supposed to be suspicious, especially detectives. They're supposed to be suspicious of accusers and of the accused. Of all victims, real and imagined. This transcends sexual crimes. You know, there's so many false reports for burglaries, false reports made for financial gain, false reports of assault, false reports of criminal damage, all sorts of things. They're meant to be suspicious. Believe women indeed. It's what they want. It's what they want. Now, obviously some accusers are more believable, more credible than others. A woman who phones the police and an ambulance, and they turn up at her home, they find furniture knocked over, her dress is torn, she's got maybe bruised face. She's a credible accuser, a credible victim. She may made it up, but she's credible. And a woman who claims to have been raped 6 months ago may be telling the truth, but obviously she's less credible. You know? Why is this so difficult to grasp? And here we have on page 4, rape culture. The ubiquitous linking of sexuality to violence has resulted in a rape culture, where societal beliefs and ideals normalise sexual violence and foster an environment conducive to rape. On what planet? On what planet does this happen? Rape myths influence the way victims of sexual assault come into contact with the criminal justice system. Research indicates that the underreporting of sexual victimisation partly reflects society's endorsement of sexual assault. Absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous. Rape myths and the police subculture. Adolescent complainants. Scholarship investigating law enforcement perceptions of sexual assault and complainant age has produced inconsistent results. Well, yeah, rape is an inconsistent crime, isn't it? like most crimes. Understanding officer attitudes using a framing theory approach. Goffman's 1974 theoretical work on frame analysis argues that situations and interactions are defined by how individuals and groups make sense of, organise and communicate about reality. Yeah, okay. Goffman again. Current study, officer attitudes towards teenage sexual assault complainants. More than 2 decades ago, Martin and Powell called for more research on criminal justice organisations that respond to victims. Understanding officer attitudes toward teenage complainants may help explain why the factors associated with sexual assault case processing and law enforcement investigating techniques can vary depending on whether the incident involves adult or juvenile complainants. Older women are more credible than younger women. A woman in her 60s who claims to have been raped is, especially if there's forensic evidence, is more credible than a teenager. I mean, is that so difficult to... This isn't sexism or ageism or whatever, it's just common sense. Again, it doesn't mean the teenager's lying, it doesn't mean the older woman is telling the truth. And you've got here a table, teens lie about sexual assault, 38 something or percent, I don't know what it is. Value in parentheses, value in parentheses. Note, values in parentheses are not always mutually exclusive. Teens lie about sexual assault for self-serving reasons, lie to excuse age-inappropriate behaviour, lie to gain attention from their parents, lie for revenge, lie because they're runaways, lie because they're seeking help, of course there's mental health issues, lie about sexual assault for good reasons. Good reasons. Excusing age inappropriate behaviour. Attention seekers. The second type of teenagers that detectives describe were those who fabricate sexual assault because they were attention seekers. In this sample, 3 detectives describe scenarios where teenage complainants lied about sexual victimisation as a means of gaining attention from parents. Yeah, parents and other people. One detective discussed the techniques he or she used to encourage a lying teenager to tell us the truth. Sheer attention. I've had victims who just like the attention that they're getting. If I figure that lying is what is going on, I'll put the fear of God into that room to have them tell me the truth. I'll call them on that. We don't arrest them, but I do threaten them with a bill. If I found out that you were lying, from this moment forward, your parents will get a bill from the city for the time I spent on the case. Is this really the way police officers behave? But, you know, it depends on the circumstances, isn't it? Running for good reasons. Complaint describes mentally unstable. One detective described how it is difficult to determine whether somebody's telling the truth. It turns out she didn't tell the truth. I don't investigate it on my part. Finally, one detective discussed the case where a complainant lied about a stranger sexual assault at the request of her mother. The complainant in this case was raped at knife point by her brother. Oh my God. Just absolutely. I don't know where they're going with this. They're going a long list of references, which mean what? Anyway, that's some of the samples you get from these feminist academics, and they are almost all well, they're all feminists, aren't they? All feminists. You can't believe a word they say. You really can't. You know, police are far more credible. A lot of them have been brainwashed with feminist propaganda, and some of them have, and this woke garbage that's going around now. But detectives, old style detectives, were and are far more reliable than this feminist crap. Anyway, that's Unwise Sages. I'll upload this to, I've finished editing, I'll upload it to BitChute. Yeah, well, upload it to BitChute, I don't know. I might add it out to my Forthright timeline, my Forthright channel on YouTube. We'll see. There's no copyright issues anyway. So that's number 91. I've got some more lined up. I could spend a week making these. I could spend a month making them. I obviously have to be selective. Again, anyone wants to send me any feedback, you know where I am, and I will continue adding cases to the Forthright timeline as well.